state here to make an opening statement.
Yes, Your Honor. What did you put in my drink? I knew my drink tasted funny. You did this because you didn't want the fate. Those are a few of Jade Benning's last words, heard by her very best friend, Nigella Jackson. Words that she heard spoken to Bla1 Taylor over the phone 20 minutes before EMTs would find Jade Benning pulseless. EMTs found Jade Benning face down, laying across her bed, not in her bed, across her bed, face down.
Good morning. As we talked about yesterday, this is a very, very serious situation, as you know. And so again, I thank you. I thank you for coming back. I thank you for coming yesterday. And I thank you for taking very serious, and I know that because of the answers you gave us yesterday, this process in our judicial system. I too want to tell you the story of Jade Benning and Bla1 Taylor. But as you can imagine, it's quite different. And you're going to hear over the course of this entire trial a lot of information. And if any of you are like me, it's easier to compartmentalize things so that as you hear the evidence, you can dump them in a bucket. And that way, at the end of the trial, a week or so later, it won't be so difficult to remember what you've heard. And so what I want you to do is I want you to think about things before, think about during the incident, and after the incident. Think about things before the incident, and the incident is going to be February 25th of 2023. Before the incident, during the incident, and after the incident. It will help you. So let's talk about before. Before, I want you to know who Bla1 Taylor was and who Jade Benning was. Bla1 is the oldest of two children. He is the son of Evie and Trooper Taylor. Bla1 has a younger sister, Star Taylor. Bla1's father is a football coach, a college football coach. And I've since learned that living a football coach's life and on that level, it takes you around several places across the country. And so they traveled a lot. They lived in a lot of different places because Dad worked in a lot of different places. And Bla1 got his education from the University of Arkansas, where he graduated in 3 years with his master's degree in business administration. After that, he began working. And he ended up, after a few jobs, working for the Tennessee Titans as a pro scout. That is where, here in Tennessee, is where he meets Jade. But what's also important to know is that throughout Bla1's life, even when he played football, even when he was in college, he never drank and he never did any drugs. No alcohol and no drugs ever in his life. I want to now show you who Jade Benning is and was. She was a beautiful young lady. She was an aspiring chef. and she too was from Arkansas. And she moved to Tennessee after graduating from culinary school to become a chef and work at Ernest Hideaway Grill and Bar. But different than Blaze, Jade was involved with alcohol, and Jade was involved with drugs. And that is where they differ. But what they are alike, as you've heard, just as Blaze was casually dating young women, Jade Benning was casually dating young men. And so that is who they were before the incident. Now let's talk about Blaze and Jade and their relationship. Blaze and Jade met on Hinge, a dating app, in January of 2022. They exchanged a few messages, but never really hooked up. It went into February of 2022 when Blaze reached out to Jade, but yet she never returned the message. About a month later, she returns the message and says, "Oh, I've been busy, but it's good to speak with you." And then they went dead for a while. They didn't talk again until August of 22. In August of 22 is when they actually met up. August the 10th, they met and they had dinner. And after that, they began a relationship. They began casually dating each other. But they were not exclusive. He wasn't exclusive with her, and she wasn't exclusive with him. You will hear that he dated other women, and you will hear that she dated other men. And they were both okay with that because that was the agreement that those two adults had come to. They had agreed that they would have a sexual relationship, but they would still date other people. And as adults, you will hear that that is what they decided to do. You will hear that they probably started having sex somewhere around August. Remember, they met August 10th. So by August 23rd or so, you will hear that they probably began their sexual relationship. So from August 23rd until November 2nd, they started dating. They would see each other. They would hang out. I believe that the restaurant where Jade worked was very close to Blaze's house, and it was convenient because of their schedules for Jade to go over to Blaze's house after he got off work, after she got off work. And she would spend the night there. He would get up and go to work in the morning. She would sleep late and get up and leave whenever she got up. Now you will hear sometime around November 1st of 22. Jade believes that she may be pregnant. And you will hear that she's having a conversation with Nigella. And what they're trying to figure out is who the father is. And you will hear that they weren't sure if it was Blaze's child or if it was some guy named Des' child. And so they talked a bit, and they talked about who she was having sex with the most. And it appeared that Nigella thought that she was having sex with Des the most. But apparently, you'll be able to hear that ultimately Jade landed on Blaze. And Nigella agreed and said, "Oh, well, it must be Blaze's." And you'll hear that it is at that time that Jade makes the decision that she's going to tell Blaze that she's pregnant with his child. And so you kind of deduct, you'll be able to deduct that she did talk to Blaze around November the 4th. And on November the 4th, it is clear that she tells Blaze, this baby is yours, and not Blaze's. And you'll hear that it's true that Blaze, at that time, was not ready to be a father. With the woman he met less than 90 days ago, who was casually dating other people just like he was. And he did not want to go forward with the pregnancy. That's clear. He was 27, he wasn't married, he really didn't know her. And clearly he suggested alternative methods. And he suggested it to her because it was something that she had agreed to do with someone else in the past. But Jade wanted to keep this child. She wanted to give birth to Blaze's baby. And so what you'll hear, though, is that they had a difference of opinion. And that they were at an impasse. And so clearly they had talked about it from November the 4th until November the 6th. Because on November the 6th, you will learn that it was Jade who told Blaze, clearly, there's no agreement that we're going to come to here, and I'm not changing my mind. So what I suggest is you go your way, I go mine. You don't have to be involved with the baby if that's what you want to do. I will go on and I will love this baby with or without you. My next appointment is on this day. If you want to be there, you can. But if not, this is the decision that I made. You'll hear that that's the decision that Jade made for herself. Now what's important is that after that, what you won't hear is that Blaze was forcing her, pressuring her, continuously calling her or texting her, trying to force her to abort this baby. You won't hear that. You will hear that from the moment she made that decision for herself and told him, you go your way and I'll go mine, that he did not contact her again. You will hear that he honored her wishes. You will hear that he gave her the space that she asked him for. But then you'll hear that some time had passed. It would have been enough time to have passed to where she had passed the stage of where abortion would be a viable option. You'll hear that he told his parents, and he told his parents that he had met a young lady by the name of Jade. She was a chef, and he was possibly going to have a child with her. And what you'll hear is that he then at that time, after making that decision to tell his parents, he contacted Jade on December the 31st. And she responded via text, I'm at work or what have you. And you'll see that on that very same day, she texted Nigella, her best friend, and said, you won't believe this. Because she had a missed call from Blaze. And that ultimately, on January 1st of 2023, they met up at a park at Jade's suggestion. She suggested, let's go to a park. And he honored her wishes again and met her at the park. And it appears that they sat in that park and they talked for almost 5 hours. And they had made the decision that they were going to try to get to know each other so that if the baby was in fact Blaze's, because Blaze asked for a paternity test, which made sense, that They needed to know each other if they were going to have to co-parent this child. And you will hear from Nigella herself that it was at this time that Blaze made every effort to do that, to get to know her, to participate. And so remember this is January 1st, so over the next month and a half, 3 weeks until February 25th, they dated, they saw each other, they hung out, they spent time together, and they were getting to know each other. Now you'll hear that Jade did have doctor's appointments, and she did want Blaze to attend. But what you'll hear is that she told him about one appointment, which was, in fact, February the 6th, I believe. And she was going to find out the gender of the baby on that day. And you'll hear that she asked Blaze to come. And Blaze said, I need to check to see what's going on at work. I don't know what's going on at work. And if I can make it, I will. You'll hear he didn't make it. But you'll also hear that the next appointment she had was about 4 days later, but it was for a blood test. It wasn't necessarily another actual visit, the monthly maternity visits. That one was not until March 9th. And by that time, unfortunately, she had already passed. And you'll hear that during this time that they were split, and when Blaze was dating Xavier, Jade, now knowing that she was pregnant, was dating other men as well. In fact, there were 3 other men that she was dating in December. And you'll hear that we know that for sure because she was sending naked pictures to them in December. And there were 3 men, 3 different men, that she sent naked pictures to from December the 3rd through almost towards the end of December. So yes, you will hear that they both were dating different people. Now, we'll go to February 25th of 2023. Now, what's also important to know before we get there, you'll find that Jade was involved with drugs prior to the day that this happened, prior to the day that she was diagnosed with acute cocaine toxicity that caused her death. You'll hear that she was involved with marijuana. You'll hear that she was involved with Adderall. You will hear that she was involved with the weed cartridges. I think they call it resin. You'll hear that she was involved with mushrooms, that she would take mushrooms. And you will hear that she also drank a lot until she was drunk oftentimes. In fact, you'll hear that during maybe a day or so before she and Nigella was having this conversation about who was the father, and it was Blaze's, that she was inviting Nigella to share mushrooms with her. And you'll hear on the same day that she learned that she was pregnant, that Nigella was asking her to call Des to reach out for some drugs. Fast forward to February 25th. On this day, during the incident, you'll hear that Jade, in fact, did spontaneously plan a date night with Blaze, where she was going to cook, where she wanted to do the paint and sip, I believe Nigella calls it. Painting with a twist, I believe it is. And that's where you paint and drink and have alcohol. But according to Najee, they weren't going to have any alcohol because remember, even Najee is going to tell you that she knew Blaze did not drink.